All right, here it is. Number 5. Let's take a look. What is happening here? All right, so we gotta factor this. So x, this minus comes up, right? This minus tells me same or different.
Different.
Thank you. Okay, so that means, all right, what multiplies to be 3, but subtracts to be 2.
3 and 2. Or
3,
1.
3 and 1. So the 3 goes first because it's bigger, right? Now check this out. Check it out. 1, 2. Buckle my shoe. 3 cancels out, right? So what happens is there's a hole at 3, right? So what happens is there's a hole there. That graph actually graphs, right? But at 3, it disappears. So let's look at what's going on around 3. So what numbers are around 1, 2, 3, and 4? Very good. 2 and 4.
Oh, I didn't know you wanted us to answer.
You know, just
I was
asking.
paying attention. My fault.
So the numbers we're going to check out are 3 and 4. And then we're going to see what happens.
You mean 2 and 4?
Because 2 and 4, yeah. Because we can't plug in 3. Well, we're gonna anyways. Because we're going to see what happens at 3. Because remember, it's not an asymptote. It's a hole. So the difference between a hole and an asymptote is, an asymptote, you got something like this going on, right? And a hole just means that. Right? So, let's see what's happening at 2. So remember, this is just x plus 1, right? So f of x equals x plus 1. So f of 2 equals, well, what's 2 plus 1?
4.
Okay, close. 3. All right, so 1, 2, 3. Isn't it? Am I wrong?
I was kidding.
Okay. You guys are confusing me. It's not fair. Alright, so now, this looks like it's going to be a straight function, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's linear, right? Even though it looks like a quadratic, it's not a quadratic because we canceled it from being a quadratic. So it's a linear function. That line starts at 1, right? And goes up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So if that's true, sorry about that. So if that's true, by the time we get over to here, we should be up 2, right? So we should be at 5. Is that right? So let's plug it in. F of 4 equals 4 plus 1 is, oh shoot, it's at 5. Look at that. So what's going on here, right, is that we got this line going on here, right? But what happens at 3? Well, what is f of 3? What's 3 plus 1? 4. So at 4, right, there is a hole in the bucket. Dear Liza, there's a hole in the bucket. Dear Liza, a hole. We'll fix it, dear Henry, dear Henry, dear Henry. Never mind. Okay. That's obviously from my old school days. But the limit as this line approaches 3 is 4. It'll never reach 4, right? It can never reach 4 because it can never be 4. So it gets really, really, really close to 4, disappears, and then reappears on the other side of 4. Right?
Yeah.
There it goes. All right, next one. So again, let's factor it out. Boom, 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 boom. X plus. This plus means that they are
The same.
okay. So both pluses. What multiplies to be 1 has to be 2.
1 and 1.
1 and 1. Did that cancel anything out?
No.
No. Alright, well, doesn't seem to have helped us much, but you'd be surprised. So we got x plus 2 over x plus 1 squared, right? Okay? And that's f of x. Alright. And we're talking about a limit as it goes to negative 1. Why? Why are they talking about a limit as it goes to negative 1? What happens at negative 1?
The asymptote?
Yeah, the asymptote blows up, right? So it can't be negative 1. So at negative 1, it doesn't exist. So we want to see what happens at negative 1. And we want to know from both sides in this case. Remember, before we were looking at just one side or the other side. This time we're going to look from this side, and then we're going to also look at it from this side. Okay? And if it goes to the same way, it's positive. Same way, negative. Two different ways? No, doesn't exist. Okay? Let's do it. So, we need a couple numbers. How about 0 and 1? Sound good? So at 0, f of 0, we get 0 plus 2. Right? Okay. We get 0 plus 1
1.
squared. So it's just 2, right? So at 0, it's 1, 2. Okay? Alright, what happens at 1? F of 1.
Over.
So 1 would be 3 over. So what's 1 plus 1? 2 over 4?
Over 4.
3 over 4. So it's 3/4. So at 1,
Excuse the interruption. Can I get Paul Johnson to the middle school main office, please?
so it's going up to
The
infinity.
middle school main office, thank you.
Right? So let's see what happens on the other side. Okay? And where would the horizontal asymptote be, by the way? They're the same, right? Or no, it's bigger on the bottom. If it's bigger on the bottom, the horizontal asymptote's at 0. That sucks. Is it really? Oh, goodness. That means weird things can happen at 0. Like it could be going this way and then come back down this way, right? So what we want to check here, just to check, is negative 1/2. Just to make sure that our estimate at 0 is valid, right? Now throwing in a 1/2 sucks, but this is calculus. You know, we can do this. So what's a half plus 2? Very good, 2.5. Don't care what they say about it. And then, what is a half plus 1?
1.5.
1.5. And then what's 1.5 squared? Think about that. 1.5 is really 3 over 2. Squared would be 9 over 4. Right? Now, that would be really 2 times 2 is 4 and 5, that'd be 5 over 2, right? Divided by 9 over 4, which would be 5 over 2 times 4 over 5, right? Cancels out, 2 goes into 4 twice. We're back at 2. Still, it's going up. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Now we can double check it by what? 2.5 divided by, so 2.5, clear, 2.5 divided by, what did we say? It was,
1.5.
what, a half? Oh shoot, I was doing negative a half, not a half. Oh, that sucks. Because this would have been at 2. That's weird. What the heck is going on here? If I plug in a negative half, that's going to make that not 2.5, but 1.5, right? So that's 1.5. Now what happens when I plug in a half, negative 1/2, not a half, but negative a half? That means this is going to be a half, and a half squared, erase all that, 1/2 squared is 1/4, right? So this is divided by 1/4. So it's really 3/2 divided by 1/4, which means 3/2 times 4/1, still a 2 and a 6. There we go. Better. That's what I thought. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? So it's climbing up, right? It's going up. And that's what's important. Did something flash?
No phone.
Oh no! Okay, let's finish this real quick. Other side. What's happening? Another flash?
My phone.
Oh. You tricked me out, bro. Alright, so let's go. Is that at -1? So let's go -2, -3. What happens at f of -2? F of -2 is 0. Boom. So f of -2 is 0. Okay, what about -3? So -3 is -1 over -3 would be -2 squared would be 4. So -1/4. Aha! Nope. Okay, they're both going to infinity. So the limit is positive infinity. Cool? Now we didn't get a lot of those, and that's why I put that in on purpose.